All right, so this one is on traveling, planning a trip overseas, and also kind of touching on overconfidence. So it's come to my attention that a lot of guys who come to summits, they want to travel on their own afterwards, right? So they're like, oh yeah, I had a good time at the summit. Now I'm going to go everywhere by myself. Going to go to the Philippines, going to go here, going to go there. And they don't I guess they don't realize that there's a lot into the planning I do. Like when I plan a summit, like I plan a lot, like the reason, time of year, location, price, ticket price, hotel price, how many girls are going to be there, the weather, is there like cheap, good food nearby? Is there hospitals nearby? And also I'm there. So, it seems very, very easy. And I guess, it's kind of my fault too, because I have traveled so much that for me it is easy at this point, because I've traveled internationally ever since I was like in my early 20s, right? Like basically I've been on the road basically since I was 23. Yeah, I'd say since I was 23. So 59 now, 36 years. So 36 years of travel. And also too, I have a lot of luck. Like I've been very lucky, so a lot of things that I made it through, most guys wouldn't have made it through. And I'm not fucking around here. I'm totally serious. Like I've been in some very harrowing circumstances. I don't talk about them because sometimes I want, when people are watching my videos, it's like hard for them to understand like what my perspective, right? So they're going to think I'm full of shit, right? When I tell some hardcore third world stories, but I got a lot of them. I'm happy to put them together maybe in one video for you guys. Most guys are going to say, that's crazy. This guy's so full of shit if you're listening to this guy, blah, blah, blah. But if anybody wants, I can put together some third world stories. The reason why I would put those together is to break them down for you so I can give you some kind of like what I learned from them. Because you always learn something. Every time you survive or, make it through a difficult situation, you learn, smart guys learn like little details, at this time this happened. Someone can say, oh, that place is dangerous, but that doesn't really tell you anything, right? So anyway, it's come to my attention that people are making plans for trips and basically then later telling everybody that they got plans. So let me kind of give you some basic rules here. I would say number one, if you believe in like the whole thing we're doing here in Ronin, man, come to a summit. Like start at a summit. Like that is the best place to start. So let's say you're going to do an Asia trip. Plan it when we'll probably do a Thai summit here soon. I want to do a Philippine summit. I want to do a Bali summit and a Japan summit and a Nepal summit. So right now I'm done with my medical stuff. My knee's better. But I did surgery on both knees. I'm out walking right now. I went to the gym yesterday, week after surgery, did squats, heavy squats, deadlifts. I'm back. I'm fucking back. So I'm getting ready to make a move. So when it comes to trips, I just kind of want to throw this out there so that you guys don't make any big mistakes, Let's see. For one thing, like, I know I make it look real easy and you go here, there, go there. But like shit happens, man, in these countries. Like you need to be, let's see, how do I say it without being overly serious? That's the thing. I don't like people that are overly serious. I think it's kind of a way to kind of force people to pay attention. But at the same time, I want to give you warnings that you could die, right? So let me think how to put this. Basically, like third world, like you need to improve your people skills. It's not about your fighting skills. It's not about your carrying a weapon or anything. It's about your people skills. You don't want to get caught with a weapon overseas. It's just going to be trouble for you anyway, legally. And if you ever use it, then you're really in trouble. Now, if somebody uses a weapon on you and you pick it up and use it on them, that's much better. I've been in that situation before. But if you're carrying a weapon, oh man, you're going to get fucked. Because overseas, man, you're not local. You you might think you're a great guy, but that's not the way they look at you. They look at you as a foreigner, right? You're a visitor. You're a foreigner. You're here to use, or they got some impression about you, and it's not good. When it comes, especially if you hurt a local in any way, or could be misinterpreted as being anti-local or something like that, right? Which is the way these things get spun. And believe me, like, you know about getting canceled in America, right? In Asia, it's worse, because if there's a video, if someone catches a video of you, and it's happened a lot recently in Thailand, is that there's like videos of guys saying things to Thais, and basically it goes like, 1,000 million times more viral than you would think. And like everybody wants to kill the guy in the country. And they often deport you or fuck your visa up, because they say this is a no good man. This is no good. So like, man, when I was traveling in the beginning, there was no social media, but now you got all the risks I had combined with social media. So you really do have to watch yourself. And when I say watch yourself, I mean show respect to locals, right? And respect is not probably, it's more kind of respect to locals in the sense of being in jail. There's a respect that guys in jail have for other gangs and inmates. There's this kind of, and there's a respect for the guards. Yes, sir, kind of thing. There's a kind of respect that's very, very important, because face in jail is super important, right? And face in the third world is kind of the same, really. You need to know how to be seen as a good foreigner, basically. And the best way to fuck that up is to take 3 friends who don't really give a shit, who would never listen to a long video like this, who basically don't respect what you say. They're just going to go there and figure it out. They know everything's going to be fine. So you don't travel. If you're going to the third world, come to a summit. Get the lowdown, even before you plan the trip. So in other words, just come to the summit, and then at the summit, meet guys, do your research when you're on the ground in the country, and then decide about what cities, what order you're going to go to. Don't make a big plan. Don't buy like a bunch of flights in advance that you can't change. Just take a round trip to the summit, and then everything else you're going to do in Asia, and come back to that spot. And that is a good way to do it. And the other way that you can do it is you can buy a one-way these days, because these days you can do a one-way basically half price of a round trip. Before they didn't have that. But you always, when you come in on a one-way, you always got that problem of some countries don't like that. And again, people skills. Depends on the immigration officer. If they don't like you, then they'll pull you aside and say, hey, you got a one-way. And you're like, yeah, but that's legal or whatever. And they're like, yeah, well, guess what? You have to buy a ticket right now. And you end up buying a super expensive ticket in the airport right there, while the guy's hovering over you and the internet hardly works, and you're all stressed out, and you can't even think straight, and you're buying a ticket just so the guy will let you in, right? That's realistic. That's what happens. So you got to learn from the beginning how you are perceived, and you want to basically take your people skills level up to level fucking, what was it, Keanu Reeves in that movie, The Matrix? Whatever those guys, the top guys were. Those guys where you're just like master of the universe. Because you just don't have any time. Traveling to the third world, there's a lot of guns. There's a lot of violence. There's people on the side of the road. People die all the time in the third world. I mean, like, the value of human life, I don't want to be overly serious either, but I want to give you the facts. So let me try to break this down. So when I was in the Philippines in 1989, there was a part of town that the government had decided, in Manila, that they had decided they were going to move everybody out of. So they gave everybody a little bit of money, and it was like a whole, it was like basically 10 or 20 city blocks. And so they'd given everybody a small amount of money to move out. And they were supposed to move out by New Year's Eve, which was when I got there. But they hadn't moved out. So the government set fires in each four corners of those 10 blocks and just killed everybody. Everybody who stayed there burned to death. And it was never in the paper. There was nothing about it. They just burned to death. And they said, well, the Philippines was like, basically we told them, we gave them money. They didn't listen. And they're a problem person, right? Asia doesn't have time for problem people, basically. They got too many people. You can't be the same pain in the ass you could be in America, basically. Like in the States, you can kind of do whatever you want. And people just kind of have to put up with you, right? A little water break there. But people have to put up with you, right? But that's not how it is in Asia. In Asia, the culture is different. And, like in the Philippines, people will have a number of kids, and they will accept that some kids are going to pass, kind of like Westerners used to do maybe 2 or 3 or 4 generations ago. And so because of that, if their own kids can pass away without them being destroyed, think about what they think about you, a foreigner. They might like you and everything, but they really are kind of, I think probably Westerners were the same way back in the day, back in the Depression. But, they just necessarily have put on this kind of, more hard face. They basically like, okay, I can't. When you live in the third world and things go bad in front of you all the fucking time, you can't get too down, because if you get too down, then you're going to not be able to continue living, because you're going to see stuff all the time. It's hard. When I traveled in India, when I traveled in Philippines, I mean really traveled, back in like 1989, 1990, back across China back then, across Russia, across, where else was really rough? Philippines was rough back then, man. Really rough. Where else? Malaysia was pretty rough. Indonesia was rough when you went off the beaten track. Sumatra, the island of Sumatra, I went all the way across that island for like 6 weeks. Oh man, shit went down in Sumatra that was insane. Basically, they tried to kill us, tried to stone us, because the girls I was with were wearing shorts. They were long shorts down to their knees, but I told them not to wear them, these 2 Swedish girls, but they wouldn't listen. And then they tried to stone us to death, I survived a stoning. Yeah, that's only one thing. I'll go into the details. I'll do a video of all the things I've run into. And I'll give you specifics. Like, I'll break it down. I'll answer questions. Like, I would love to pass on what I learned from these experiences where my life was at risk, because I feel like that's where you really learn. It's like that dark line between life and death. That's when you're pushing it to the ultimate, that's when you really learn something new. And that's one thing I don't like about modern life, is everybody's just sitting at Starbucks doing fuck all, right? I like this stuff. I really do. I love this. I love this challenge and threat and unknowns and need to be a person that will somehow make it when others won't. You know what I mean? Like, I think to get to be the man you want, you kind of need to go through this. It's kind of like going through war or something. It's like you need to be able to take care of yourself. And some of the situations I've been through are worse than a lot of guys who went through war. Not everybody goes through war, goes through stuff. Some guys are just manning a radar station or whatever, I went through some pretty fucking serious things. And that's what made me into the person I am, basically. But I don't want to make it look easy, because, like, really, your life is at stake. Like, if I make it too easy, like it is for me, essentially, nowadays. And also, it's easy for me mentally, right? Not just physically, I know what to do, but like mentally. I've been in situations before, and you guys that are long-term travelers in third world, you know what I'm talking about. You know how you're going to respond when you see a bunch of people die in front of you, right? I know how I respond. When blood is everywhere, heads are ripped open, when that kind of thing happens, I know how I respond. if you don't know how you respond, you might not respond the way you want to respond. You might respond in a way that's not good, or not to your benefit, right? Or not to society's benefit. So, when you're going to the third world, I just want to put a little caution, like realize that, if you fly into Manila and stay in a nice hotel, go to the nice malls, then you fly to Cebu, stay in nice hotels, you're not going to experience what I'm talking about. Or if you have a wealthy Filipino friend and you're staying in their house, you won't know. Kind of like one time I have this wealthy friend in Tennessee, in Memphis. And when I stay with him, it's totally different than when I went on my own. Because when I went on my own, there was like prostitutes and drugs, and you could not walk at night near our hotel. Like, you could not. Everybody agreed. They said, if you walk down 2 blocks that way, you're going to get killed. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, yeah, you're not going to make it. So don't go down there tonight. Wait till tomorrow. And, daytime. But then when I stayed with my friend, it was like fucking awesome. Like, it was so easy. Everything was awesome. I felt like there was no crime in the city, in the same city, And that's just Memphis. But when you talk about the Philippines, man, there's so many unknowns. Even rich Filipinos don't really know how to protect themselves in the ghettos. But as a foreigner, you're going to be probably putting yourself, going to these more extreme places, right? So you need to know that, just have an idea of what you're getting into, and to not be overly serious, right? I'm having a good time despite all this shit going on, right? In fact, I love it. I love it. But at the same time, I'm not stupid. I'm not going in these things like la-di-da-di-da. And at the same time, I'm not going in too serious either, because if you go in too serious, then people challenge you, right? Because they're like, oh, you think you're fucking Mr. fucking this and that, right? You can't do that either. You got to go in as a nice guy, helpful, talkative. Make sure you spot. When I look at a bunch of, like, let's say at night, I remember one situation. I was in Cebu, and our hotel had a guy with a machine gun sleeping at the front desk inside all night with like huge bars on the windows. This is our normal hostel. And he was like alert all the time, never sleeping. And there was always someone with a machine gun in the front of our hostel. Not a hotel, not a 5-star hotel, a hostel. And so we went out at night one night, and we took, we decided we're going to fucking go for it. So me and Adam went out. We ended up going down these little alleyways. As soon as you go down the alleyway, you can't get out, right? They can easily trap you in there, right? So we knew we were getting into. I'm like, actually, probably Adam didn't actually at the time, but I did. And I'm like, fuck it, let's go down these alleyways, because that's where you meet interesting people. So we went down these alleyways, and we came into this one, like a square. And as soon as I got there, now I was already probably I was probably 43. So I already knew a lot of stuff by then. I'd already been doing this for 20 years. I knew right away this was extremely dangerous, this square. It was probably 2 a.m. And I looked and I realized, holy shit, like, this is dangerous. Like, so what did I do? I'll just give you one story so you can at least have something to hang your hat on when you go travel. If you don't, take my advice, come into a summit, ask a lot of questions. Plan it out better. Plan it out with a friend. Plan it out with people who know, right? Be there on the ground to start. And I'll do a summit in different countries. If you don't want to go somewhere, it's possible. I can do a summit there. That's a great way to start. It really is a great way to start. But, okay, so what did I do? I was like, okay, just instinct. I thought, wait a second. Because people started moving towards us. It's 2 a.m. Everybody was drinking on the street. There was definitely a gritty feeling. And there was kind of thugs coming towards us and behind us. I looked around the room, or not the room, but like the square, and I sensed there was one guy who was very confident. He was leaning back, drinking kind of against the bar, and I sensed that was the leader. I just sensed it. And I just fucking just, boom, I just smiled, and I just stiffened my back, walked straight up to him friendly, put out my hand. He just looked at me, he's just sitting there, and then he didn't know what to do, you know? And then he puts out his hand, we shake hands, and then he goes, it was like a movie, he's like, hey, we drink, you know? And then all the guys backed off behind. I looked behind me and they all backed off. Everybody moved away from us, right? And he's like, yeah, you're a cool American. Yeah, welcome. Sylvester Stallone. You know, he starts doing his impressions of people. We had a great time, and he was actually a cool guy. He was good, but he kind of like, at the end when we were friends, he was kind of like looking at me like, the fuck you guys doing here? Like, this is fucking not safe. Like, this is like seriously not safe area. And, and I just, at that point, you got to be tough, but at the same time, you got to be, it's a combination of like Richie Cunningham, in the happy days, and like a fucking criminal. Like, you got to have both. Where like when he's giving me advice, I'm just like, oh, really? Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. That is great advice. I will do that. And I'm dead serious too. I'm like thinking like, if this guy's telling me that after what just happened, I know that this is dangerous, right? Now I know, because one, we were just about to get, who knows what, and he stopped it. And then two, he's telling me like, so basically what happened was they walked us home. Everything was good. Every night I came out, people smiling. Everybody knew the story in that neighborhood. That's the thing in the Philippines, is word fucking gets around. And so everybody was like, super friendly. Even my hotel person was different to me the next day, because he was like, oh, this is not some stupid American. This guy can fucking handle himself. He made friends with, he heard about it, right? And he was all friendly. And he took me totally seriously too after that, because I had shown him the kind of man I am, and that man that I am now is kind of a man that I built over time. Okay, it was inside of me before, wanting to become that man, but it took a lot of experiences to where I could actually reach where I wanted to go. I needed to go through some challenges. You don't just decide to be who you become. If you want to be something that you want to be, something big, something good, something real, something big. It's not just understanding. It's a combination of strength, intelligence, experience, guts, discipline. It's like so many things that go into. And I'm not bragging here. I really hope that everybody listening to this can also take this advice and over time become that man that you really want to be. That serious guy who's also fun to be with. It's like 1 minute you're totally fun, and then shit goes down and you're totally fucking serious. And and you're making decisions, like smart decisions through that whole time, right? And how you treat people and how you go. Like if I would have say I would have broken out like fighting or whatever, one of these henchmen, right? And just kicked his ass. Dude, I probably would be dead. Like, they were not fucking good guys, these guys. And everybody fucking had guns. 100%. These guys, there's no question that everybody in that square had a weapon. There's 100%. And if I would have been like trying to show, are you fucking kidding me? So fighting doesn't really help you, really. When guys have guns all over the place in the third world, like, it might help you in one specific situation, but like, your people skills are way more valuable. That's what you need, is like decision making skills. Discernment is really what I'm talking about, is discernment. And then the ability to make priorities, and then to make a good plan, and then to put that plan into action. So it's like first discernment, where you're understanding what is really going on. And then the next thing is knowing what to do. The next is putting into practice. And the next thing is like keeping yourself under control, not going overboard. You do never want to go overboard in the third world. If you do win, right, in an extreme situation, never forget there's more to learn. Never forget. Keep your wits about you completely. Ice in your veins. You want fucking ice in your veins because there's going to be something you're going to miss in the end. Sometimes some really crazy things can happen and you can get some opportunities and you might not understand those. It's very, this is one thing I'll just end on. It's very difficult to know when you won. It is extremely difficult. And when you won, it's really important that you know. Because when you know that you won, you can compromise. And what happened with me when I was in the beginning, when I was learning the skill of like the final part of the game, right? Is like I didn't know how to do that final part. And I'm still learning. I'm still getting better. But in that final part, well, I'll just tell you quickly what happened with me was, I won't tell you the story. It was just, it's one of those extreme stories. So guys will be like, that was bullshit. Anyway, at the end of it, I didn't realize that I won because the big guy came up to me and said, look, how much do you want? And I said, everything you owe me. And that was the wrong answer. What he meant was, you won. That's actually what he meant. The fact that this guy offered me anything, trust me, I won. But see, the thing is, I didn't win like American wins. American gets everything in the contract. See, in this country I was in this situation, I was never going to get everything that I was owed. But winning was getting part of it. And that's a huge win. And it was a huge face for him and his son. Huge face. But see, I didn't know what to do. And I just didn't have anybody to fucking advise me. And I just said everything. And then he kind of looked at me like, what a fucking idiot. And I ended up getting nothing. I still won. Don't get me wrong. I won. One, because I lived. But two, because I caused them tons of pain. And I really, I showed a lot of guys, believe me, that night, that day, I showed a lot of guys who I am. And I showed myself who I was mostly. I won big time, okay? And I showed everybody that I don't put up with shit. And it was a beautiful thing. It was a very monumental moment in my life that I hope I never have to go through again, But the negotiation at the end, I was still so hyped up. I couldn't realize, like, if I could think now, I would be like, wait. Got to change your thinking, Paul. You know what I mean? Like fucking Ronin, just realize this big guy's talking to you. Talk to him. That's what I should have done. I should have said, well, what do you think is fair? And he would have said a number, and I would have shook on it and got the money. But instead, I didn't understand the negotiation. So there's different parts of any extreme situation. And I'd love to teach you everything I know about each phase. But in the third world, you're going to be challenged. And mentally, physically, even like I said, watching, people die, burn to death or whatever. These things are not easy to, like move on from. But if you really want to see the world, you need to learn what the world is. And you need to have empathy, love, concern, and compassion. And you also have to be able to move on. You got to be able to say, yep, that was very fucking terrible. Maybe cry and really like you feel it, you know it. But you're like, you know what? I'm going to fucking go to the movies and I'm going to call my friend and I'm going to have a fucking great day. And I'm going to hit the gym. And you know what I mean? Like that's it, It's like life moves on. You know what I mean? Life fucking moves on. So I hope this has been a good intro into third world travel. It's a very honest one. And I think this is a good foundation. If you just have this in your mind, even if nothing happens, trust me, this knowledge is going to help you. And the more you travel, the more you're going to understand what I'm saying here. Is like, this is like, you have so many opportunities and you have to jump into the fucking fire. We all got to go in the fire, like this one old guy used to say. Everyone's got their turn in the barrel. There was this carnival when he was a kid, and then, like, the barrel turns around, everybody eats shit as they go through. He's like, everybody's got their turn in the barrel. You hope, you want, right? All right, guys. Hope that's been good.